The INTP can contribute greatly to society and our world, just as any of the 16 personality types have the ability to do. INTPs tend to have the role of steadying courses with their unrelenting logic, or setting new ones with their tenacity to explore concepts, even as a lone wolf if they have to. INTPs can take on the unfavorable task of playing devil's advocate, or surprise you by offering a shoulder to cry on. Who is this deep-thinking creative visionary? And better yet, why does somebody who goes out of their way to think different and pursue untreaded paths share so many similarities with others who are on the INTP spectrum? INTPs account for 3 to 5% of the population. Among males, 4 to 7% are INTPs, and only 1 to 3% of females are INTPs. Not only are INTPs rare, they so often go against the grain of societal norms, making them one of the most misunderstood personality types. INTPs often share many of the same characteristics. They are great problem solvers and intellectuals with a deep thirst for knowledge. They like to use objective data to see the world as it can be. They can find the potential in almost anything. INTPs can be critical and skeptical. They believe there is only one truth, one reality. They can seem cold and elusive, but when among friends they are warm and playful. INTPs prefer improvisation over planning when it comes to most tasks. They can be seen as laid back, without aversion to taboo. But on the inside, their minds have crystalline structure, a vast network, growing and spiderwebbing, constantly trying to fill in the gaps. A good example of the INTP archetype in fiction is Data from Star Trek: The Next Generation. Data is an android driven by logic and knowledge, yet has a need to be human and belong. This pursuit can come off as awkward and unnatural, but has a childlike innocence.
I understand that Arcaria has some very interesting weather patterns.
Mr. Data, you were right.
Yes, sir. I am attempting to fill a silent moment with non-relevant conversation.
Small talk.
Yes, sir. I have found that humans often use small talk during awkward moments. Therefore, I've written a new subroutine for that purpose.
Neo from The Matrix is another great example of a fictional INTP. He has an ultimate quest for truth and even ignores societal hierarchies, such as authority, in his pursuit. When offered the choice of ignorant bliss or hard truth, he chooses hard truth. As a hacker and programmer, he prefers to work alone and is interested in the very elements and fabric that make a system, in order to take the system to a higher level. Some famous INTPs are Tina Fey.
How's it different writing for TV than writing for live theater?
Well, we can swear,
Right.
which is awesome. And there are certain things, you can be a little darker, I think, in a live show than you can be on television.
Larry David.
Did you have anything you wanted to say to Sandra?
I do have something I'd like to say. First off, I want to apologize if I hurt your feelings in any way as a result of the dog pooping.
I was just going to say that your anger is your problem and it's not my problem anymore, so.
Okay, but it really was great that Larry acknowledged your feelings and apologized.
I guess, yeah.
Yes, and I
Doesn't
would.
seem to be too overwhelmed by it.
Well, but you know what? I feel very good about that interaction, and
It's just that dogs don't really have control when they go.
Yeah, but the owner has control of where the dog goes.
right. You know what?
You do want to apologize to my dog because you really yelled at my dog.
Yeah, it's very hard to apologize to a dog because they're a stupid animal.
Well, you know, okay.
Jesse Eisenberg.
I think what you're doing is you're putting your thumb under your pointer finger. You're bending this one.
Can you do it?
Yeah, I think it's something like this.
Yeah.
I'll tell you the problem with the trick is that the thumbs don't look like an end of a finger.
You just have a fat thumb, though.
No, my thumb's fine, thank you, but what did you write on your hand?
Nothing.
Well, I saw there was a lot of things. What was it?
Sigourney Weaver.
Well, I think what attracted me to this, the second movie, Aliens, is the fact that she's not strong in the beginning. In a way, she's a character out of time, and she's, I think, battle weary, and she's disillusioned, and she's burned out. And the fact that it's because, really, of reluctantly and against her better judgment, she's pulled back into a situation where she has to take over again. I could feel her mental exhaustion.
Albert Einstein, Charles Darwin, Marie Curie, Abraham Lincoln, Immanuel Kant, and many others are notable INTPs. So what is personality? From a psychological perspective, personality is the way we perceive, judge, and interact with our world. This affects how we take in information, what we do with the information we receive, how we interact with our inner world and outer worlds, and of course, how we socialize and interact with others. Jungian personality type theory, as conceived by Carl Jung and improved by Catherine Briggs and her daughter, Isabel Briggs Myers, is the theory that we interact with our world along 4 polar spectrums or preferences. Think of these preferences as handedness. You have the ability to say, if you're right-handed, use your left hand, but it requires much more energy and effort. Using your opposite hand to throw a ball will seem awkward and unnatural. Due to their polarizing nature, people will tend to prefer one side over the other on these 4 bilateral spectrums, which are as follows. Extroversion, gaining energy through human interaction, and introversion, gaining energy through solo activities or small intimate groups of people. Sensing, preferring the here and now and interacting with the environment, and intuiting, preferring the big picture, envisioning the future and interacting with thoughts and concepts. Thinking, preferring logic, accuracy, or pragmatism, and feeling, preferring interpersonal harmony or internal values and morals. And lastly, perceiving, preferring options, spontaneity, and improvisation, and judging, preferring closure and conclusion. This presentation of Jungian type theory is known as the MBTI, or Myers-Briggs Personality Type Index. 2 possibilities of 4 binaries gives you 16 different combinations. That's why there are 16 types of personalities. You may ask, how can there only be 16 types of personalities in a world of almost 8 billion people? Of course, there are more than 16 kinds of individuals. Remember, these preferences are on a spectrum with varying degrees. Also, there are more factors that make an individual than personality preferences. Think of people as ice cream. There are only 16 flavors, but one can have an ESTJ French vanilla with narcissistic personality disorder nuts, an ESTJ French vanilla with colorful Hispanic upbringing sprinkles, or an ESTJ French vanilla with both, an ISFP Tutti Frutti with codependency cherries, or an ISFP Tutti Frutti with only child whipped cream, and so on. An INTP is just as it says, one who prefers introversion, intuition, thinking, and perceiving to interact with their world. Your upbringing and life experiences help make you an individual, even amongst other INTPs. However, your personality type holds the mechanisms which guide your thoughts, actions, and intentions. Now, you may be thinking, is that it? Something as complex as human personality can't possibly be summed up by only 4 categories. And you would be right. In episode 2, we will show you how these 4 little letters aren't just preferences, but a formula for sequencing 8 cognitive functions, creating a recipe for how you and I operate.